Gowdy.
Mr Speaker, in speaking to the Electoral Disqualification of Convicted Prisoners Amendment Bill, if enacted, this bill or this law would revert back to what it was prior to the implementation of the current Electoral Act 1993, and all this bill does is remove the right of a person serving a sentence of imprisonment for a term of less than 3 years to be able to register as an elector. Now, it's a very simple law, and what it's saying is if you do the crime, you do the time, and you give up any right that a normal citizen has, and it's the moral obligation of that person not to commit the crime rather than have the supremacy of the moral obligation for that person to be able to vote. So you're saying that it's a moral... This is what the Labor representative, the opposition is saying. They're saying it's a moral obligation to allow these people to vote. Well, don't they also have a moral obligation not to commit crime? What? If they want to commit a crime, they have to do the time and they have to give up all the rights and privileges that law-abiding citizens have a right to. If they want to do the crime, that's what they give up. They give up those rights and privileges. Their moral obligation is not to commit crime, and they have to have that responsibility in the first instance. If they want to continue to vote, then they won't commit that crime. If they want to give up their rights and privileges, then so be it. They give up the right to vote. I would rather we have supremacy of the moral obligation not to commit crime over the moral obligation to allow them to vote. Look at all of those thousands of New Zealanders that went to war, as David Vic Garrett quite rightly pointed out, to protect our democracy. And the biggest part of that democracy is the right to vote. Well, if they're going to commit crime, which is a moral obligation on them not to commit, and they want to go and do it, then they can give up the rights and privileges that they can expect as New Zealanders. And what do the Greens say? They say that's an irrational approach. So to expect New Zealanders to actually have a moral obligation not to commit a crime is an irrational approach. That's just totally soft on crime. And what's the Greens' other interpretation? The Greens' other interpretation is to call the law of locking up criminals extreme coercion. I mean, you know, like, duh. This is about keeping New Zealanders safe. And they call the law of locking up New Zealanders extreme coercion. Now, I tell you, if this was a communist country, I guess they'd be in the top seats, but this is not a communist country. This is a democracy. We expect a moral obligation of New Zealanders not to commit a crime, and if they commit a crime, then we expect that the laws will deal to them in the appropriate way, and this is another way in which we can curb their rights and obligations, because we need to send a very, very strong message to people that might think about committing a crime. We need to make them think about all the rights and privileges that they lose, and we make sure that they don't enjoy their time in incarceration or fulfilling the sentence that they might be charged with. And of course we hear all about the Bill of Rights and their rights. Well, the moment they commit a crime, they abdicate their rights at all, in my view, because what about the rights of the citizens of New Zealanders not to have that crime perpetrated against them? Is the bell gone? No. No? Okay. Oh, well, that's all right. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So we're not going to be like the Labor Party who said they are not going to express a condonement of the actions of criminals. So by definition that means they condone the actions of criminals. So they're clearly soft on crime, but we are sending a very strong message that we are not soft on crime. We want to make sure that every single criminal understands that they're going to get dealt to. If they want to break the law, they will get dealt to, and we've made very sure of that, and we've totally supported the police. The changes that we have made under the excellent leadership of Minister Judith Collins, Minister for Police and Corrections. We've given them tasers, we've given them more police on the front line, we've given them more powers to deal with crime and methamphetamine, and and taking the assets, their proceeds of crime. We've taken 7.2 million on and bring it on.